Yeah, so it's me again, Nick Howarth, the author of War and Peace, which is an autobiography about my 9 years experience as a sergeant in the Internal Stability Division uh, in the Qatarus area on the East Rand, in Gauteng, then the Transvaal. There's another little story that I wanted to tell to try and whet your appetite to get into this book and give it a read. Uh, there was a lot of there was a period between it was probably over Christmas, the Christmas period in 1990, where there was a lot of violence. There was, I think, within a few days we'd picked up over 200 corpses uh, in that area, and the violence was nuts. There was so many. Uh, there were so many incidents. The township guys attacking the hostels, which was IFP hostels and township ANC UPLA, SDUs, you name it, was in the township. And the hostels were migrant workers from KwaZulu Natal, which were mainly IFP supporters, the Carter Freedom Party supporters, and there'd been a lot of backwards and forwards, tit for tat type of attacks on the township and then the hostels and then the townships. And we picked up about 200 bodies. I estimate in that one particular week where this happened, there were probably 300 people killed in that area. We probably didn't get to see half of it, because the residents would just carry off their dead and bury them without even reporting it. But this particular night, we'd been working probably 3 days, and we'd catch a bit of a nap here and there, in the back of the Casper, which was an armored troop carrier, and we'd had light machine guns mounted on the roof of these armored vehicles at that point as well, because it was getting so dangerous for us. We tried very, very hard not to use like hardball ammunition, but sometimes you had to. I mean, we were getting fired at with AK-47s at that point, and anything that they could get their hands on to try and kill us with. So we were kind of justified in using our hardball ammunition. Mostly we try to shoot back with AAA shotgun rounds or number 12s, which was birdshot. Anyway, this particular night things got a bit quiet, and we went and sat under a tree, or parked under a tree, and I was totally bushed, man. I was so tired, and I just passed out in the back of this vehicle, and I was catching a nap, and I woke up. I don't know how long I've been sleeping, but I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you haven't slept enough, maybe 2 or 3 nights in a row. You just hadn't got enough sleep, and then suddenly you had a little bit of sleep, and you woke up, and you probably shouldn't have had that little bit of sleep, because it just made it worse. And that was what it felt like. I woke up and I was completely disorientated, and there was just massive gunfire, like hitting the side of our vehicle, and there was, the glass was, the glass on the bulletproof windows was shattering, and makes a massive noise, when it hits the side of the armored vehicle. And I woke up and I was like confused, and there was weapons lying all over the floor. There's like a little passageway where you put your feet, which you sit facing each other in these vehicles, in the back, and in between there was just guns and ammunition and grenades and all that lying around. You can imagine what it looked like after like 3 or 4 days, and 5 tired men on a vehicle. It's just like, it was a mess. It was total disorganization. And I felt around and I picked up a gun. I think it was mine. I picked up a R5 assault rifle, and I stood up and I stuck my head out of the top of the Casper, and there was just gunfire, man. I mean, we were under like heavy attack, and I could see that there was 2 taxis parked alongside us, about 30 or 40 meters away from us, and there was I couldn't really count how many guys there were, but there was probably about 6 or 7 of them, and they were just opening up on us. They just opened up with their AK-47s, and bullets were just flying over our heads, and I didn't even think twice of it. It was like all automatic, and I got up and I had my gun over the top, and I was like shooting back at them, and there were some tracers coming at us as well. They had some tracers in their magazines, and this is a very strange thing that happened next. Believe me or don't, your choice. But I think it's kind of like when you hear people who have a car accident and everything slows down, goes into slow motion, everything goes like really slow, and they can see everything happening in slow motion. And this is what happened here. Is this tracer came straight at my head, and I could see it coming straight for me. And the closer it got, the slower it got, and it got to about maybe 5 meters away from me, and it was coming straight for my head. I mean, it was going to take my head off. And it got to about 5 meters away from me, and it slowed down so slowly, like ultra slow motion. And I moved my head out of the way like this, and I watched it go past me, and I could see, like crystal clear, I could see the phosphor burning off it, like sparkling off this thing as it went past me. And then everything went back to the normal speed, and I carried on firing. Eventually we drove these guys off, and then after I was saying to the guys, did you see that? Like, what? They hadn't seen anything, but it was definitely very real for me. I was like astounded. Like, to this day it's hard to explain. I don't know what happened there. I think soldiers who've been in combat probably all have some kind of a story like that to tell, something that really odd that happened, really odd. And the townships were full of it, they were full of, supernatural is a strong word, full of real weird stuff going on. I had so many experiences that, if I had to tell people about them, they just wouldn't believe me. And I'm sure that a lot of guys did. A lot of guys who worked in the townships had these same experiences. People just wouldn't believe you if you told them. It would make everything else you say incredible, because this is just like that doesn't happen. Like, I don't believe in that. And it's just not the same reality that everybody has about it. And so you tell another story, and I had to be very careful in writing this book to make sure that I kept it real for people, because the stuff that we saw and that we experienced was out of this world. I'm not talking about, you go to war and you experience gunfire, you experience cannon fire, you experience taking shells or taking a good shelling, and there's explosions, and there's things like that going on. I'm talking about some really like fucked up stuff. Like, I don't even know if I should get into it. It's really brutal, and I'll give you an example. We stopped at a squatter camp called Mandela Squatter Camp, and Mandela Squatter Camp and Holomisa Squatter Camp were warring against one another, because one squatter camp had toilets and the other squatter camp didn't have toilets. So they went to war over this, and people died because of this. So they're both ANC squatter camps, by the way. They weren't even like opposing political parties. This was purely a war about toilets. And we arrived there afterwards, and there were entrails, human entrails that were hung over the trees like Christmas decorations. Pieces of people, body parts hanging from the trees and from the fence and from this barbed wire, this razor wire that we put out to try and stop them from fighting one another, And we stopped. We were at Mandela Squatter Camp, and somebody opened fire on us, and I saw him run into this, like, it was reeds. It was a whole lot of reeds, and there was a pathway through these reeds, but they were quite high. The reeds were at least twice my height, And I chased this guy. I was on my own, and I chased this guy through these reeds, and I couldn't see him. Every now and then he came to sight, and then he got away, and he came to sight, and he got away. And as I was running like full ball, and I'm not a bad runner. I can run. I was chasing this guy at like full speed, and next minute I came around the corner, and I saw there was a dead body in the pathway there, and I just jumped over him. But as I jumped over him, I thought, Jesus, something weird about that, something weird about that thing that I just saw. But I didn't have time to stop because I had this guy in my sights, and eventually this guy got away. I ran so far after him, and I thought, I was never going to get this guy. I couldn't see him anymore. He probably turned off into the reeds somewhere, or just hiding there, and I'd missed him. So I turned around, and I was like quite intrigued by what I'd just seen. It was like there was a mystery about this dead body that I'd just seen. So I turned around and walked back, and he was lying there. He had his head cut off. He had been decapitated. He was lying there with his arms next to him, like dead straight across this pathway. He had his head between his feet, looking back at his body, and he had his dick in his mouth. Someone had cut his dick off and put it in his mouth. And he was like almost at attention, this guy. I mean, what the fuck is that about? And that was just one of the things. That's just one of the many, many things. I mean, you got to understand. I was there for 10 years. That was one of the things that I'd seen. There was a lot of shit that went on there. I've said it before, and I've used the word before. Voodoo. It's like voodoo stuff. It's really eerie, scary stuff. Yeah, I didn't put a lot of that kind of stuff in my book. I did put some, but I try to keep it real. And I also try to keep it toned down a little bit, because the stuff's just too brutal and too evil, to put in your face. But I did tell a lot of exciting stories about it, So it's like the extreme experiences of a policeman. Anywhere in the world, I don't think there's any police unit anywhere in the world that experienced what we experienced in those years. It was very unique. I do believe there should be a movie made about this, and I'm self-promoting right now. I'm self-promoting. When I say self, I'm talking about the Internal Stability Division as self. There should be a movie made about this, even if it's not about my book, but at least about that story, the Internal Stability Division. You'll have people glued to the screen, I'm telling you. It is exciting. It was an exciting life. That's why I spent 10 years there. I mean, I was supposed to do my 4 years military service and then get the fuck out of there, but I didn't. I went past my 4 years. I didn't even think twice. I just carried on going, and after 9 years, well, I didn't do 10. I did 9 years. I thought to myself, what am I still doing here? This is like, I've almost died. I don't know how many times, and there was one time too many. So, yeah, I left after 9 years. My point is that I saw a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of guys who saw a lot of stuff. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of stories just like the one I told you, from different guys who were in these units all over South Africa. People didn't know about this, but it happened. And I believe that kind of thing is still happening in our townships. We still don't see it, but there's still stuff like that happening. So yeah, give my book a read. It's called War and Peace: The True Story About the East Rand Riot Squad. You'll find it on Amazon. If you just type in my name, Nick Howarth, that's Howarth, and it should pop up. It's got a picture of a burnt out Casper with all sorts of slogans painted on the side, like graffitied. Which is a whole other story in itself, the story behind that Casper, which I'll tell in another video. But have a read of it. You'll really enjoy this book. If you know someone who can make a movie, let them get hold of me. I think that this is a story that needs to be told to the world, not just for historical reasons, but because it's a good story, man. It's a good story. It's a story that people will want to see. Thanks for listening.